Delivery at CenterPoint Energy will join us to tell us about CenterPoint's readiness plan ahead of the winter storm expected this weekend. I'm Frank Billingsley.
And I'm Celeste Díaz Schurman. We'll also talk with Kathryn Guerra, current TCEQ campaign director with Public Citizen, about why the agency isn't prepared to enforce regulations on AI data centers.
And I'm Ernie Manouse, plus a collection of more than 50,000 Broadway legend Tommy Tune's items will be archived here at the University of Houston. We'll discuss with University archivist Mary Manning.
And as always, we want to hear from you. Give us a call or text 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org.
Hello Houston is made possible in part by founding sponsors John Bradshaw and Kathy Sanders, and by gifts from listeners like you.
Live from NPR News, I'm Lakshmi Singh. President Trump has introduced his Board of Peace, initially proposed to keep the Israel-Hamas ceasefire in Gaza from collapsing. In Davos, Switzerland, site of the World Economic Forum, Trump says the effort will need international participation.
There's tremendous potential with the United Nations, and I think the combination of the Board of Peace with the kind of people we have here, coupled with the United Nations, can be something very, very unique for the world. It's for the world. This isn't United States. This is for the world.
However, many U.S. allies have not yet joined. The president's globally controversial quest to acquire Greenland overshadowed the inauguration of his Board of Peace. In his speech at Davos, Trump noted that U.S. brokered peace between Ukraine and Russia turned out to be more difficult than he anticipated. After meeting Trump, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky announced his country, Russia, and the U.S. plan to hold trilateral talks starting Friday in the United Arab Emirates. White House envoy Steve Witkoff and President Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, are now in Moscow for talks with Russian President Vladimir Putin. Here's NPR's Charles Maines in Moscow.
Ahead of the meeting, Putin said he intended to discuss the possible use of Russian assets frozen in the West to help rebuild parts of Ukraine devastated by nearly 4 years of war. Putin's apparent offer comes amid weeks of intense Russian bombardment of Ukraine's energy infrastructure, including in the Ukrainian capital Kyiv. The attacks have prompted charges Russia is weaponizing winter, with hundreds of thousands of people left without heat or power and sub-zero temperatures. Meanwhile, months of U.S. efforts to negotiate an end to the conflict have bogged down over Russian maximalist demands on Ukrainian territory, as well as Ukraine's desire for ironclad security guarantees from the West. Charles Maines, NPR News, Moscow.
It may get harder for employers to figure out what to do when a worker reports harassment. NPR's Andrea Hsu reports the U.S. Equal Employment Opportunity Commission voted 2-1 to rescind its harassment guidance.
The EEOC's harassment guidance was approved by the commission during the Biden administration. It provided employers with the agency's reading of the law, explaining what kind of harassment constitutes illegal discrimination. The guidance included numerous examples of harassment based on protected characteristics, such as race, age, and religion, and also included examples of harassment of trans people. As a commissioner, EEOC Chair Andrea Lucas voted against the guidance, asserting that it's not harassment to acknowledge that biological sex is real. Now she's led the vote to rescind the 2024 guidance in its entirety. Dissenting Commissioner Kalpana Kotagal said the EEOC was throwing the baby out with the bathwater. Andrea Hsu, NPR News.
At last check on Wall Street, the Dow was up more than 400 points. You're listening to NPR News.
Live from News 88.7 in Houston, I'm Alexandra Hart. Houston officials say city departments will have all hands on deck as freezing temperatures descend this weekend. 12 warming centers will be open from Saturday through Tuesday morning. The city's interim director of resiliency and recovery, Brian Mason, drew parallels to the deadly winter freeze 5 years ago.
Take this with a little bit of a grain of salt, but if I had to compare this to something, this is looking more like the winter storm of 2021 than it looks like the winter storm of what we had last year. You know, last year we had 2 to 4 inches of snow. People were able to go outside and play and enjoy the snow. 2021 was bone-chilling cold for 40 to 42 hours below freezing. I'm not saying this is going to be the winter storm of 21, but we should prepare like this is going to be the winter storm of 2021.
The Electric Reliability Council of Texas and CenterPoint Energy have projected confidence about power stability ahead of the storm. CenterPoint says they will have around 3,300 frontline workers ready to respond to Houston area power outages. The company says they've brought in an additional 600 workers to turn the lights back on should they go out in certain areas. The concern during this storm is ice building up on power lines. CenterPoint says they've been installing stronger poles and upgrading equipment that they say should help in minimizing problems in the aftermath of the storm. ERCOT, the state's power grid operator, says they are ready to handle what's coming in our direction. Early voting for the 18th congressional seat runoff is underway. Harris County Commissioner Tanisha Hudspeth told News 88.7 about the importance of casting your vote to fill the vacant seat.
It's really close to almost a year there has been no representation. I hope that Congressional District 18 voters are listening and know exactly how important this is to have representation. Over 800,000 people live in the district. And don't wait. If you know you can early vote now, we say go to Harris Vote, see what side is closest to you, and make a plan today.
That was Harris County Clerk Tanisha Hudspeth. Hudspeth reminds voters the special election is for the former boundary lines of District 18, meaning before the 2025 redistricting. I'm Alexandra Hart, News 88.7.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation. RWJF is a national philanthropy working toward a future where health is no longer a privilege but a right. Learn more at rwjf.org.
Live from the University of Houston, it's Hello Houston, an open forum on today's biggest stories affecting Houston and beyond. Call now, 713-440-8870. Or let us know your thoughts on today's topics by emailing us at talk@hellohouston.org. Now here's your host for Hello Houston, Ernie Manouse, Celeste Díaz Schurman, and Frank Billingsley.
Hello, winter.
Houston. Oh, hello, winter. Is winter here yet?
You know, not yet, but it's about to
coming.
Be. It's coming. I don't see any way it's not going to come.
Okay, there are those optimists of us out there, or people who aren't realistic, who keep thinking it's going to miss us.
That's called wish casting.
Yeah, and
it works sometimes. I mean, the European model wants to keep most of the messy freezing rain and sleet and snow to our north, up around the piney woods, say Huntsville and north, and that's possible because the low that's bringing in the precipitation is out of the southwest.
Yeah.
So it's going to come across Mexico and the desert southwest area. So it tends to have dry slots where you don't get as much falling to earth, and it also tends to be a little warmer as opposed to it all coming in from Canada.
Yeah.
The cold air is coming in from Canada and the Arctic, but the moisture with it is coming off the Pacific. So that's a little more favorable for us as far as a warming trend, but I tell you, it's going to be very tight.
Yeah.
I think, in a nutshell, Friday, Saturday, just showers, just rain. Then the cold air starts to filter in. So the best chance of freezing rain on our streets is probably Sunday morning. Mm-hmm. And then we might even get an hour or two Sunday afternoon that would melt everything.
See, that's what I keep looking at the forecast. If I look and see a high is over the freezing point, I'm thinking, well, then that will get rid of it. But is that not the way to look at it?
We can get rid of a lot of it, and then just travel gets rid of a lot of it. You know, all those trucks going over anything that's there. If we can evaporate some of it or most of it, then we'll be in the clear because overnight, Sunday into Monday, it's going to freeze down to 25 degrees. So any moisture that's still there on bridges and overpasses is going to refreeze.
But then when the temperature goes back up again, then
it just depends on how much it gets rid of.
Okay.
Yeah,
Right.
and there's some areas that are shaded. Like if you go under 59, if you're on, say, Chimney Rock, and you're going under 59, well, that's shaded. So it's going to stay cooler. So you go in there and you can get what you call black ice, which is just ice you don't see, but it's there. And so I would say travel is going to be very, particularly perilous Sunday morning into Sunday afternoon. But it's a play-by-play. It's still just Thursday.
And that's what I was going to say. I think right now is the time that we continue to check in, find that trusted meteorologist that you really trust that you can go to. We have
I trust Frank.
who comes in and talks to us in here on Hello Houston. But really, it's about being prepared, not panicked.
Right.
At this point, we know Houston is going to get very cold. City officials are also saying we're looking at between Saturday, worst case scenario, until Tuesday. And what does that mean? Make sure you have batteries, candles, flashlights.
I'll give you a pro tip, because a lot of those spigot covers,
yes,
they're gone. They're already gone.
Yes.
I mean, you might find some at Home Depot, but they're pretty much gone. And pipe coverings are gone. But Pampers, any kind of
yes.
We have those around my house.
There's, Pampers, Huggies, Loves,
those are
pull-ups.
They're insulated because they're diapers. They come with their own tape, and they are very malleable. So you can put those around a pipe and cover your pipes with Huggies.
That's a great idea.
Oh, yeah.
We got our pro tip.
The way I always like to look at it, hope for the best, prepare for the worst.
Oh, sure.
Yeah,
that's what
I think.
sure.
Again, it's one of those things where we're going to continue to monitor it. We have CenterPoint coming up. Nathan Brownell, who's going to be talking with us.
Yep.
HPM, Houston Public Media, will continue to provide updates where we can to make sure that you stay informed as we monitor the weather.
Stay weather aware.
Weather aware.
Which we could talk more, but you've got a headline that's going to lead us right into this.
Yes. As we were just discussing, we continue to closely monitor the winter weather expected to impact much of Texas, including right here in the Houston area as major cold fronts move in. Questions often turn to preparedness, as we were just discussing, but also the reliability of our state energy grid and the distribution of energy. CenterPoint Energy says crews across Texas are stepping up preparations ahead of freezing temperatures and the potential for winter weather expected this weekend and into the next week. In a news release issued Tuesday, the utility said winter precipitation and temperatures dipping into the low 20s could affect its Texas service territory, prompting coordinated readiness efforts across its electric and natural gas operations. Emergency response teams and in-house meteorologists are all getting ready. And joining us now to take your questions and update us on CenterPoint's readiness plan is Nathan Brownell, Vice President and Resilience and Capital Delivery at CenterPoint Energy. Nathan, welcome back to Hello Houston.
Hi, Nathan.
Good morning. How are you all doing?
Good.
Well, we're doing well. How are you guys doing?
Yeah.
We are busy getting ready for the winter event.
What do your meteorologists, your research tell you is going to happen? How are you looking at what's going to happen over the next couple of days?
Sure. So what we're viewing is potential weather coming in Saturday evening through Sunday. So a lot of precipitation through Saturday, but really what we're concerned about the precipitation is the freezing. And so we originally were thinking it's going to be freezing around, Saturday night. It's starting to shift now that we're seeing into Sunday kind of lunchtime-ish. And so that's a risk for people that are driving. It's a risk for our power lines that are out there. And so really we're trying to get prepared for all the types of scenarios that the icing could do to our infrastructure.
Hey, Nathan, how much freezing rain brings down a power line? Because we see these forecasts for just 1/10 of an inch to 1/4 of an inch, and in some cases to the north of us even more than that. So what's that number that you all look for that can really play havoc with power lines?
So there isn't any sort of rule of thumb that if you get this much freezing rain, it will, start damaging equipment. It really just depends on how it accumulates. And so wind factors can play into it, whether the water is funneled into a specific area. And so we could get as little as a 1/10 of an inch and have some sort of impact from outages from those ice, or it could be larger than that and have a larger impact. So really we take any type of freezing rain seriously, whether it's small or large, and we plan for the worst case scenario that we're anticipating there's going to be a lot of freezing rain. Yeah. We don't think that's the case today based off the forecast, but we are going to be planning for it, so we're ready.
And then there are the limbs that can come down on top of the power lines. I know y'all do your best to keep those away, but you can't go into everyone's backyard.
That is very true. So, freezing rain pulls down the limbs, which can snap those limbs and come down onto our lines, causing outages. And so over the last year and a half, we trimmed about 7,000 miles of high risk vegetation. And so we've been very active and going out and identifying areas that are high risk and trying to trim those back. So when we have extreme weather events like this weekend, we're going to be much more prepared.
And that's what I was going to ask. Nathan, last year we saw snow right here in Houston. You're mentioning, the upgrades that y'all did, but what other specific upgrades, maintenance have y'all done? And then what parts of your system are you looking at that are still vulnerable?
Sure. So when we think about what we have done to prepare for this, we have been talking about our Greater Houston Resiliency Initiative since Hurricane Beryl, and this is a function of building or installing larger poles that are wind resistant, but also they're prone to be able to handle ice. We've started to strategically underground lines. We're trimming more vegetation. We're adding automation devices that can isolate faulted areas so we can get customers on quicker. So when we think about like pre-checklist going into this, we're looking at our critical equipment that's out there and making sure the heaters are ready, that they're not going to have any equipment failure. We're also reaching out to critical care facilities to make sure that they're prepared and they have a backup plan. We're also coordinating with local EOCs or emergency operations centers and state level officials to make sure we're all in alignment of how we're going to restore power, how we're going to help each other out. And so there is an extensive list of preparations that we go through, and really our focus is not about how do we handle a slight chance of impact. It's what's the worst case scenario and how do we the most quickly and safely restore power for our customers.
And it's interesting you talk about the worst case scenario, because I do think that during these times of weather events, communication is key. How will customers be notified about outage risks, actual outages, and then the restoration updates? How are y'all going to communicate to people?
Sure. So there is multiple different platforms that we can utilize. So one thing I would advocate for our customers, if they haven't signed up for our Power Alert service, this is a free tool through CenterPoint that is a great opportunity to get personalized information. So if you do have an outage, you can get real-time information of estimated restoration times and progress being made on those restorations. Customers can also utilize our outage tracker. It's cloud-based, so it's going to provide the overall picture across the Houston area of our progress on the restoration. But also, we're going to be providing daily updates on our progress and in our preparations through this event.
Kind of going back to what Celeste was asking a minute ago, at this point, how confident are you folks have everything covered you need to have covered, and where are the areas of concern you're still worried about?
I'm extremely confident about our preparation activities. After Hurricane Beryl, we had a lot of lessons learned, a lot of feedback from our customers, from elected officials, a regulatory commission. We did a lot of benchmarking across the industry. We learned about things that we can improve on. And so since that event, we've done a lot of transformation within our organization, from hiring an experienced emergency preparedness team to building out our communications team even more, to how we start designing and upgrading our facilities. So all of this is compounding really to make us more prepared for these type of events. So when you ask how confident we feel about this event, we feel extremely confident that we'll be ready to respond quickly and safely to our customers.
All right, you're listening to Nathan Brownell of CenterPoint Energy. If you have a question or comment, give us a call, 713-440-8870. So Nathan, I don't know if you're quite the person to ask about this, but I know that brownouts, not complete blackouts, but when the grid is really being taxed, there sometimes is a tendency to turn your power off for an hour, bring it back for an hour off. Do you see brownouts in our future over the weekend?
I do not believe so. So I think we get that question a lot, is this type of event that we're seeing this weekend, is that similar to Winter Storm Uri back in 2021? These are two distinct events. Winter Storm Uri was a function of there wasn't enough generation of electricity on the ERCOT market. So there wasn't enough power plants that could provide that electricity to all customers. And so we had to start doing rolling blackouts to ensure that we could keep the lights on. This is not going to be the event. From coordination with ERCOT, we don't believe that generation is going to be an impact. This is really focused on, the extreme weather coming in and how our infrastructure handles it. It's almost comparable to like a traditional storm that would come in the spring or the fall.
Nathan, you mentioned ERCOT. Can you tell us what type of conversations y'all are having, and what does that communication look like between the two of you?
Absolutely. We're communicating with ERCOT, our Public Utility Commission, and even the local municipalities and their emergency operations centers daily. So we are in close coordination with all of those institutions to make sure we're all aligned on where do we have opportunities to grow, where's our risk, how can we help with one another. Collaboration is critical to ensure that our customers get the type of service that they need.
Okay, so I'm sitting there in the dark on Sunday morning. Are you going to tell me when the power is coming back, or do I need to call you? What do I do?
So if you do experience an outage, if you haven't signed up for Power Alert service, you're more than welcome to call us, let us know about it. But if you have signed up for Power Alert service, we're going to be sending you a text message to validate that, yes, we see that you have an outage, that we have a truck that's en route, and then we'll also provide you estimated restoration times throughout the event until your power is back on.
And Power Alert service, is that a simple app that I can download?
So it is something that you'll sign up online, and it's really just a text-based program that it will send you that type of information.
Nathan, do you have any recommendations or advice if somebody sees a CenterPoint truck in their neighborhood? Should they just let them do their thing? Can people go up to them and ask them questions? What should that interaction look like?
Sure. What I would recommend to any customer would be allow those crews to work. These are highly skilled frontline workers that really need to be focused on their safety and trying to get power restored as quickly and safely as possible. And so the other concern about approaching that area is there could be energized lines in that area. And so we don't want to have any customers at risk of those potential items. And so if you see a CenterPoint truck, allow them to continue to work safely so we can quickly and safely restore our power to your customers.
And again, we are speaking with Nathan Brownell from CenterPoint Energy. If you have a question or comment, you can call 713-440-8870.
I will tell you that signing up for the that weather alert, what did we call it, the Power Alert service, is simple and fast. It's just that I'm doing it and it keeps telling me I have an error, that my phone number doesn't match my home address. So I've got to figure out how to rectify that. But it is just 2 questions, basically your street address and email, and if you want to add your phone number, and then hit submit. So it's a pretty easy, basic thing to do. But I got an error.
Oh, well,
so I'll have to fix
better
that.
to know now than when you really need it.
Yeah, so check it now. It only takes a minute, and you find it just go to CenterPoint Energy or do a Google search for CenterPoint Energy and Power Alert service, and you can get that.
Nathan, any last words you'd like to let people know as we prepare for this winter storm?
Yeah. Last thing I would say is, customers can also get on to centerpointenergy.com/action center. They can see more information about our restoration activities, support that can happen to our customers. The one thing I want to stress to our customers is we are prepared. We're taking this very seriously. We understand how critical gas and electric is to our customers' lives. So we appreciate everybody's patience as we get prepared for this. But also, if we are experiencing outages, just know that we are going to be working 24/7 to get every single customer back on.
Perfect.
Great. Thank you. We will continue to monitor the weather. Again, Nathan Brownell is the Vice President of Resilience and Capital Delivery at CenterPoint Energy. Nathan, thanks so much for joining us today on Hello Houston.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Coming up on Hello Houston, we'll talk with Kathryn Guerra of the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality Campaign, Director with Public Citizen, about AI data centers. This is News 88.7. Stay with us.
Hi, I'm Lenny Ambrose from St. Arnold Brewing Company, proud supporters of Houston Public Media. Right now, with your $60 donation, you can choose tickets to News and Brews. This member-exclusive event takes place February 17th. Enjoy a pint, connect with fellow NPR fans, and meet the Houston Public Media newsroom in person. Select News and Brews tickets when you donate at houstonpublicmedia.org gardening.org/donate.
Gardening can help people with autism grow resilience and social skills.
And a lot of times they begin with, oh, no, I don't want to touch the dirt. And I'll say, I understand. All you need to do is 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, you did a great job.
I'm Paloma Beltran, a guide to gardening for special needs. Next time on Living on Earth from PRX.
Saturday night at 10 o'clock.
On last week's Wait, Rachel Koster figured out why the president is so obsessed with Greenland.
I think there's got to be aliens there or something, like he knows something.
You think?
Yeah, of course. Why would he be so excited and be keeping it such a secret?
And Peter Sakel will join us this week as we try to sell our theories about the week's news to Shark Tank's Mr. Wonderful, Kevin O'Leary. That's Wait from NPR.
Wait, don't tell me. Saturday and Sunday at 10 a.m. on News 88.7.
Support comes from Visit Galveston, presenting Galveston Restaurant Week, where participating restaurants across the island feature prefix lunch, brunch, and dinner options for a range of dining preferences. January 12th through 30th. More at visitgalveston.com. Support for Houston Public Media comes from Baylor College of Medicine. With 125 years of innovation behind it, Baylor has driven progress in health and medicine through research, education, and care that push the frontiers of modern science.
And now back to Hello Houston. To comment on any of today's topics, call 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. And now here's Ernie Manouse, Celeste Díaz Schurman, and Frank Billingsley.
In full disclosure, it was operator error when I was trying to sign up for Power Alert Service. When they ask for your address, they only want your street number, not the name of your street. So if you put in your number, blah, 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 no, just the street number. So it's real easy, and it takes about half a second to do. And it is the Power Alert Service on the CenterPoint Energy website.
All right.
Thank you. Texas is aggressively recruiting AI data centers, but critics say the state's environmental oversight hasn't kept up. Communities across Texas are raising concerns about noise, pollution, and heavy demands on water and electricity, and whether regulators are equipped to respond. Joining us now is Kathryn Guerra, a former Texas Commission on Environmental Quality employee and current TCEQ campaign director with Public Citizen, to talk about why she says the agency is not prepared to enforce regulations on this rapidly growing industry. Kathryn, welcome to Hello Houston.
Hi, good morning.
Why don't we just start with, why do you believe the TCEQ is not currently equipped to regulate and enforce rules for such a rapidly expanding AI data centers?
Well, the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality, or TCEQ, has built a really unfortunate reputation for lax enforcement and being a friend to industry. Some may recall that TCEQ recently, not that long ago, underwent a sunset review, and the agency was described by other state officials as being a reluctant regulator in a report that also found that the agency's policies lack transparency and generate public mistrust. There was also a recent report published by the Environmental Integrity Project called State of Decline, and we saw that the Texas legislature had cut the TCEQ's funding by more than 33% over the past 5 years. Those cuts have a tremendous impact on the agency's effectiveness. We saw that more recently this year, the agency submitted a 2026-2027 appropriations request asking the legislature for an additional $60 million in funding, and essentially said without these additional resources, it's going to be really difficult for the TCEQ to meet the increasing demands placed on the agency, including emerging technologies, and maintain state primacy for its programs. And it went on to say that if the TCEQ doesn't get sufficient resources, then permit timeframes are going to lag, and its ability to respond to the needs of regulated entities and the public is going to be hindered. They received just $47 million of that requested $60 million appropriation. And now add to that issue proposed cuts to the federal funding of the Environmental Protection Agency, and consider how much worse it's going to affect that ineffectiveness.
Well, let's talk about the real problems. These AI centers, they demand huge amounts of electricity. They have to be cooled. They have to be electrified. we don't, and the water, you got to have the water, which we have water shortages across the state, and just the electricity demands. We may not be prepared for it grid wise to support AI centers of any great magnitude. So what you're saying is really alarming, because we're going to have to figure out how to regulate this industry.
Yeah, that's right. And, there are estimates that the Texas data center market currently has between 400 and 500 data centers. And then Baxtel is reporting that areas like Houston have 50 data centers with 7 sites under construction. But statewide, it estimates that there are more than 100 AI data centers under construction right now.
To build or construct or operate one of these facilities, are there guidelines already in place that they should be adhering to even before we get to this point?
As far as environmental regulation is concerned, yes, the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality is responsible for regulating multiple aspects of data centers. They issue and enforce permits for air quality emissions for sources like generators, which those data centers often use. They regulate stormwater and wastewater permits. They regulate the storage of large quantities of hazardous chemicals or petroleum products. It also regulates water rights and data centers that use surface water to cool their massive facilities, but they don't regulate how much water those facilities can use. The TCEQ is well known to advocates to be sort of a rubber stamp for permits. And so we've seen that, for example, in the agency's annual enforcement report and in that recent environmental integrity report, that the TCEQ just doesn't have the resources that it needs to enforce these permits. And that should be really concerning for policymakers and for communities.
If I didn't misunderstand, the president recently said, and I may be misquoting, so please correct me if I'm wrong here, that these facilities would be generating their own power and they would have surplus power that they would give back to the rest of us. What is the truth behind that?
Yeah, so data centers can install their own gas generating or energy source through gas generators is typically what we're seeing, and so those also present some interesting implications for communities because those are very large sources of air pollution. And so it's not that, hey, it's going to fix all of our problems simply because they can provide their own energy, that there are other considerations that need to be taken into account.
We are speaking with Kathryn Guerra, the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality Campaign Director with Public Citizen. If you have a question, you can give us a call or text 713-440-8870. Kathryn, can you explain to us a little bit more in detail so we understand what role exactly lawmakers play or the lack of in shaping the TCEQ's ability to effectively regulate industries like data centers? Help us understand that dynamic, because I think that's really important to understand if we're talking about regulation and policy.
Yeah, Texas likes to brag that it's always open for business, but, lawmakers aren't always really clear to the communities about risk to people that are associated with bringing those new industries to a state whose legislature has intentionally created a lax regulatory environment. So if we want our regulatory agencies like the TCEQ to be in a position to protect us from these massive impacts of data centers, then we need policy. And unfortunately, that cannot happen until the next legislative session in 2027. And it's not going to happen without a truly motivated political leadership. And so some of the things that we know is that we can't expect the TCEQ to be a check on the growth of industry or environmental harm that data centers will bring to Texas. Certain things like land use considerations or the appropriateness of a data center in a certain location or the distance from one, air pollution source created by a data center to another are not factors that the TCEQ considers when issuing permits. And so absent state regulations to protect local resources and communities from those impacts, we have to look to land use tools like zoning to be used at the municipal level. And unfortunately, for communities like Houston and many other like county level governments, zoning is not an option. So we're seeing other counties like Hood County, and then also cities like San Antonio who are working on ordinances and who are sort of putting the brakes. Hood County is considering a moratorium right now on data centers because so many have popped up in that area. They want to adopt an ordinance to better get their arms around all of the issues that data centers are bringing to the community and just be able to better regulate them, but that's going to take time.
But when we're looking at protecting local communities, like you said, there's a lack of regulation and permitting and protecting the land use. Can communities themselves say, no, we don't want a data center here. We would like to form our own group and say there has to be some type of regulation. We don't want this built within 600 feet of our neighborhood.
Like a nuclear power plant.
Right.
We don't want it here.
We don't want it here. We ourselves are saying we don't want this.
Yeah, unfortunately, once a data center applies for a Clean Air Act or a Clean Water Act permit, the public communities find it very difficult to oppose them. There's very little that a community can do to oppose or stop a permit from being issued by the TCEQ that the TCEQ believes meets the statute. And so a lot of advocates feel like the public participation processes at the TCEQ are largely performative.
So let me be clear. The TCEQ, are you part of the state government?
The Texas Commission on Environmental Quality is a government agency for the state of Texas.
So it shouldn't be that hard to get some teeth into what you're trying to regulate, since you're a branch of the state government.
You would believe so.
Yeah, you think, right?
Advocates have found it's very challenging.
And what's the biggest challenge? Getting the lawmakers to buy in?
That's right. We need lawmakers who are going to introduce bills that effectively address the issues that communities and near data centers are experiencing. And, we have not seen that yet. And so it's going to take time. But the other aspect of that is adequately funding the state agency and addressing the ineffectiveness of the TCEQ. For example, it takes the agency 351 days to process a single enforcement case. That means you've been found in violation of an environmental law, and we're going to assess you a penalty. According to the TCEQ's annual enforcement report, they received about 9,000 complaints this year, and they only responded to 300 of them within 24 hours. A majority of those complaints, 54% of them, were never investigated at all. Only 4,200 of the 9,000 complaints were eventually investigated, and most took up to 30 days. So when you're a community member and you're complaining about, a health symptom or an odor or another issue, and it takes the state agency 30 days to come out, and even if they do find a violation, 351 days to address it, as a community, you don't have a lot of faith in that state agency.
No, that sounds like a miserable situation.
Yeah. We're speaking with Kathryn Guerra, who is the TCEQ campaign director with Public Citizens. We're inviting your calls and questions at 713-440-8870. Leah is on the line from the Woodlands. Leah, what's on your mind?
Hi. I am curious about a closed-circuit water system. With the huge need for water to cool these data systems, it seems like a logical regulation would be to require the data systems to install a closed circuit as they're being built. Is this a good idea? And if so, why is this not happening?
Leah, thank you for your call. Kathryn.
Yeah, there are currently no requirements for data centers to use like water reuse. Even when you have a closed loop system, you are going to have that initial need for a high volume of water, and you're also going to experience evaporation of that water. An alternative is utilizing air-cooled or hybrid systems that would ultimately reduce water demand. But again, those are not requirements and not something that's been considered by legislature.
Really quickly, how different is the energy and water consumption use to these facilities than to like traditional computer processing centers?
I'm not quite sure. I know that these data centers use exponentially more and have a much, much higher demand. I have been looking at some recent numbers from the Public Utilities Commission, the PUC, and ERCOT, the Electric Reliability Council of Texas. And they're showing that data center demand projections have really exponentially increased from 2024 to 2025. In 2024, they were 29,000 megawatts. In 2025, now they're saying 78,000. So the issue we see is sort of accommodating growth. But I'm not sure as far as the comparison between like a regular data center and maybe a much larger facility like a hyperscale data center.
And from what I'm reading, it's going to only become even greater that by 2030, the demands from AI centers on our electrical grid and on our water resources is going to be even 4 times what it is today.
Yeah, I read a 2026 report that was just released that says that within 3 years, Texas is poised to become the nation's leading data center market. We are currently second to Virginia right now. And so we can anticipate that we will have an exponential increase on not just electricity demand, energy demand, but also water demand.
Well, just to put it in perspective, we've all been to the Galleria. So just imagine the Galleria being one big computer center full of computers, because AI takes us that kind of server demand. And you get an idea that these are huge structures with thousands and thousands of computers that have to continually run. And you get an idea of how the water and electricity demanding all of that, it's going to be a scary future if the regulations don't come.
Yeah, I agree. I've seen quotes from mid-sized facilities using 300,000 gallons of water a day. That's roughly the use of about 1,000 homes. Larger data centers, I've seen estimates of 4.5 million gallons of water a day. I was working for the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality in 2011 when we had that major drought across the state. And I was one of several folks that were tasked with calling water rights holders to tell them, you have to stop using that water because a more senior water right holder is not getting the water that they need. And those are difficult calls to make.
Kathryn, who benefits from the lack of regulation on these data centers?
Well, obviously, industry. We've seen that there are, sort of advertisements for folks to come into Texas, that we're really relaxed on our environmental policies, that there's plenty of open land, that there are, low electricity costs, we don't have a regulated market, all of these things that sound really enticing to businesses. But when agencies like the TCEQ don't uphold, their duty to protect the environment and its people, it's Texans that pay for it, and sometimes with their health.
A quick question. I'm just curious about your thoughts on this. I think back to when we first started moving into computers and personal computers, and everything was so large and big and took up so much space. And now we have the power of the world in our hand in a cell phone. So I'm wondering, in 10, 20 years, are we expecting that all of these massive facilities that they're building are going to be shrunk down considerably? And by taking the hit right now, we'll be in the forefront of all of that technology as a state, when we move to more simplified or advanced technology in this realm?
I'm not sure how to sort of make data centers more compact. They, by nature, need a lot of space. Maybe the technology will evolve and that there's a way that they could build less intrusive facilities that don't take up as much of our resources or pollute as much or consume water, strain the grid, and those sorts of things. I hope that is a technology that eventually comes out of, the innovations that we're seeing with this industry. However, absent regulation, I don't think that industry is going to take us there by themselves and willingly. I think it's going to take a little bit of regulation and some common sense approaches to be able to say you can't consume all of the water in the state. You can't, put that demand on the grid and the infrastructure and expect folks to pay for increases. You cannot, just act in the interest of business without regard to the residents of Texas.
Kathryn Guerra is the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality Campaign Director with Public Citizen. Kathryn, thank you for joining us today on Hello Houston.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Coming up, Tommy Tune makes it to the University of Houston archives, and we get an inside look. Stay with us as Hello Houston continues.
We know you value Houston Public Media. That's why you're watching right now. So take the next step and become a new member of the station you rely on. Every gift makes a difference. And what matters most right now is supporting the station that brings you the news and information you rely on. It only takes a minute to make a big difference. So join as a new member today at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate or call 800-364-8300.
See your vineyards the whole way.
Know what to expect on a wildlife safari in Africa.
The big five are lion, leopard, elephant, buffalo, and rhino.
And on a long-distance hike in Europe.
I go along thinking I'm going to lose weight on the trail, and the opposite happens because every cake is justified.
On the next Travel with Rick Steves.
You can listen to that Saturday morning at 6 a.m.
I'm Jesse Thorne. You want some real, insightful conversations about where art comes from? Well, Bullseye has you covered, as long as you don't mind a little bit of ridiculousness.
Y'all was really judging me, though.
They sniffed it out. They sniffed out that I was weird.
I was like, I don't know where I'm going to sit, just like in the movies.
Listen, learn, laugh. Bullseye from Maximum Fun and NPR.
Bullseye, Thursdays at 9 p.m. on News 88.7.
It's easy to suffer from information overload these days. Social media posts that just keep scrolling, bite-sized headlines sent to your phone and even your watch. I'm Ira Flato. Every week on Science Friday, we take a step back for a longer look into the big ideas in science. Take a deeper dive with us. It's all on Science Friday from WNYC Studios.
Science Friday, every Friday, 1 p.m. on News 88.7.
And now back to Hello Houston. To comment on any of today's topics, call 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. And now here's Ernie Manouse, Celeste Díaz Schurman, and Frank Billingsley.
There's simply no denying the impressive legacy of Broadway legend Tommy Tune. Throughout his now 6-decade-long career, he's in his 80s, which fascinates. He's 86 years old. Isn't that insane? He's won 10 Tony Awards, received a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, and a National Medal of the Arts, in addition to being an actor, singer, dancer, choreographer, and director. And if you didn't know it, he's also a Houstonian, growing up right here in the Bayou City, where he attended and later graduated from the University of Houston. But he's coming home, because earlier this month it was announced that a collection consisting of more than 50,000 of the Broadway legend's items, including costumes, sketches, scripts, photos, and so much more, will be archived right here at the University of Houston and giving back to a place where his creative journey began. So to tell us more about the Tommy Tune Archives and all the cool work they do in the archives at the University of Houston, it's University of Houston archivist Mary Manning. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, explain for people who, you hear about this all the time, people giving their archives to an organization. Why is that important?
It is important because it is a way to represent, or it is a way to document and a way to learn more about different people's lives, the lives of people, the lives of organizations. There's archives that are archives of people, archives of organizations. In the case of Tommy Tune, he was an actor, a singer, a tap dancer. Yeah. He was a choreographer and a director. So it's really important for a collection like that to come to U of H, the city that he grew up in, and where he went to school and studied graduate school to be a director. His sister also grew up here, Gracie Tune. It's important for us to have that because so many different people on campus, it can be students or faculty, people who work in the theater department here, can use those collections for research to learn more about the context. They can learn more about plays that they may want to produce, that he produced.
One thing I do want to jump in and say, and also the other important thing about it is because pieces get lost so easily. They get split in different ways. And to have an archive, a collection of an individual's creative career and life all in one place, because all these pieces are interconnected in some way and shape. And so it's important to preserve them together as opposed to preserving apart.
And we're so lucky to be able to do that. And this is a case where the archives could have perhaps been split into the paper records that are theater production, set design, really, really important things, playbills, photographs. And it could perhaps the costumes could have gone someplace else. But here we have an opportunity to house them all together so researchers can see all the aspects of his career in one place.
So I love the fact, really quickly, that you mentioned his sister's name, because Celeste even made a comment about it. Really is Tune is the family last name.
It is.
It really
his
is
name. He's
Tommy Tune.
Thomas James Tune.
And it's
Gracie
spelled
Tune.
T-U-N-E.
Yeah.
And it's spelled T-U-N-E. And she's also a tap dancer. She's awarded great renown. She has a studio in a multidisciplinary art studio in Fort Worth. And she was very significant part of getting the collection to U of H.
So now that we're getting all of this, 50,000 items, where do you put it?
We put it in the archives in the second floor. And I'm first to just to go to backtrack a little bit. There's really not 50,000 items. Because we don't really count items.
There's thousands.
There's probably even more than that because we don't count like the number of letters or pieces of correspondence. For example, there's 238 costume pieces, and that's a lot of costume pieces.
Yeah, that's why I said, where are you going to put it all?
We're going to put them at the second floor of the library, the MD Anderson Library, in our archives in temperature and humidity controlled secure area. We serve it up in a reading room, so it's very, very safe.
Yeah, when I think about archives and I think about somebody like Tommy Tune and the importance of preserving the part of the history that he had during his time on Broadway. Mm-hmm. To me, I find that that's like one of the most important aspects of it.
And yet, what makes this collection even more important is it's a very personal collection. It documents virtually all of the shows that he was in, and all aspects of it. If he's choreographer, director, it documents that aspects of it. However, we have his first tap shoes. I
still think they're probably pretty big.
No, they're only a few inches long.
Because for those you don't know, he's 6'6".
He's 6'6".
He's pretty big. Yeah.
He started dancing very young. So we have stuff from when he danced as a child, costumes, clothing from that era of his life. Also, he was a graduate of Lamar High School here in Houston.
Didn't he go to Roberts Elementary? Is that right?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure, but that sounds about right. Yeah.
I did an interview with him on the series Interviews, and that whole thing is online on YouTube, so you can go and check that out. And talks about his career if you're not familiar with the breadth and depth of Tommy Tune. One thing that fascinates me is I am a huge fan of his work on Broadway, especially during the 80s, which was probably a really rich time in his creative life. If I want to see the scripts from Nine, maybe set designs, maybe something from Will Rogers' Follies, do you have it and do I have access to it?
You absolutely will have access to it. And we do have those in the archives. So where we're at with the process of processing the collection is a huge collection like this. It's 212 linear feet, which means about 212 banker's boxes worth of materials. Banker's boxes are about the size, a little bit bigger than a paper box. So it's a lot of materials. So where we're at is archivist extraordinaire Katie Allred, who herself is an aficionado of theater. So we're extremely lucky to have her working on processing this collection. When it comes in, we do a survey of it, and that's important for a lot of people, a lot of reasons. We were very, very, very grateful to the Tunes for having kept everything in really, really good order. However, it was in different locations. Things change over the years. There's still a lot of order making that we need to do of it. So when it comes in, we look over the collection. We try to figure out. Half of it came from Fort Worth. A little over half of it came from New York City. On top of one of the penthouse apartments there. Katie got to go and pick that up. And so when we get it in, we really have to unbox things. We have to look at what's there. We're looking for things like preservation concerns. Right. We're looking at things like how do we house these materials. So Katie's already gone through. She knows what's there. She's come up with a plan for processing it. And it takes years to process a collection. But what we would like to do so that someone like you can come and see what we have.
So what does that mean, though? If I want to come, because you have wonderful archives about more than just Tommy Tune. If I want to come in and explore the archives,
sure.
Am I wearing white gloves? Am I touching objects? Am I seeing images of it? Am I reading these actual things, or are they scans of it? How does this work?
Okay, well, I do want to get back to when Tommy Tune will be available and what we're doing with that.
But
for like a day-to-day, like whatever you want to see in the archives, if it's processed, it's available to the public. Sometimes if it's not quite processed, we can help people see that too. But Tommy Tune won't be open to the public for a little while. You come to the archives. You do have to sign in. We're on the second floor. We want to make you feel really super, super comfortable, but we'll also train you how to use the materials because some of these things are completely unique. Some of these things are, we have a cuneiform tablet that's, thousands of years BC, So we want to train people how to use the materials so that they will be safe for generations to come. But you can come and you can touch them. The only thing we don't want you touching is our photographs, which we either have in Mylar or we give you gloves to use. A lot of it's in Mylar, so you can pick it up and look at it because the oils on your hands are very bad for photographs.
So let me ask you this about Tommy Tune. Who called who? Did he call you and say, hey, I'm doing a little spring cleaning here?
Very good question. So what happened is that Tommy, Tune, and Gracie have been very close with Hillary Hart from Theater Under the Star, Tuts, for many, many years. As a matter of fact, Tommy Tune has his name is behind a scholarship. Yes, that's right. I think somebody in the room might have emceed for that a few times.
We have short time. So how did it happen?
Time is going so fast. So anyway, Gracie and Tommy spoke with Hillary. Hillary spoke with Andrew Davis, Dean of the College of the Arts, and Megan Toppin, associate dean there, who called me and my boss, Christian Kelleher, and with the help of like 1 million people.
It all happened.
It all happened. And it involved moving it from one city, 2 cities to here. It was a big process.
When's it going to be available, do you think?
I cannot give you a date for that, but it's going to be a while for the entire collection to be processed. However, we do hope to make one series we think is probably the most research valuable available sooner, and that is the theatrical productions, where you could see the things you were talking about looking like. So we're hoping that will be sometime in the next coming year. We also want to do a big exhibit at some point, and we do have a few things out in the lobby of the special collections now.
Mary Manning is a university archivist at the University of Houston. Mary, thank you for joining us today on Hello Houston.
Thank you very much.
And to learn more about Tommy Tune, find Ernie's 2005 interviews episode with Tommy Tune on YouTube. Coming up, we're going to continue discussing today's top stories. We'll also have our latest current obsessions, so be sure to get yours ready and stay with us for the second hour of Hello Houston.
Stay tuned. There's more Hello Houston on the way with Ernie Manouse, Celeste Díaz Schurman, and Frank Billingsley. For the latest in local news, subscribe to the Hello Houston daily newsletter at houstonpublicmedia.org. Hello Houston is a production of Houston Public Media. The opinions expressed by the guests of this program are solely their own and do not represent the views of management, staff, or underwriters of Houston Public Media. This is News 88.7.
Support comes from Moody Center for the Arts, presenting Imaging After Photography, opening January 23rd from 6 to 8 p.m. An exhibition exploring the intersection of photography and AI through May 9th. moody.rice.edu.
We still have some fog and mist hanging around. Later, it'll burn off and it'll be partly sunny with a high today near 70. Tonight, mostly cloudy, then patchy fog. A low tonight near 60. Currently, fog, mist, and 65. This is your NPR station, KUHF, Houston. News 88.7, a service of the University of Houston. It's 12 o'clock.
Just ahead on this hour of Hello Houston, ERCOT has issued an extreme cold weather advisory ahead of the winter storm expected in Texas this weekend. We'll discuss with UH Energy fellow Ed Hers, who will give us his thoughts on whether the Texas power grid will be able to hold up for this round of winter weather. I'm Ernie Manouse.
And I'm Frank Billingsley. We'll also learn about this year's annual ReelAbilities Houston Film and Arts Festival, celebrating the films, music, art, and conversations that honor the lives and talents of people with disabilities.
And I'm Celeste Díaz Schurman. Plus, we'll also share our current obsessions for this week. And we want to know yours.
That's right. Give us a call or text 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. You can also watch us live on YouTube by going to houstonpublicmedia.org.
Hello Houston is made possible in part by founding sponsors John Bradshaw and Kathy Sanders, and by gifts from listeners like you.
Live from NPR News, I'm Lakshmi Singh. President Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, has presented a U.S. plan for disarming Hamas and rebuilding Gaza. Kushner is calling it New Gaza. NPR's Daniel Estrin has more from Tel Aviv.
Kushner presented a slideshow in Davos, Switzerland with his vision for rehabilitating Gaza. He presented simulated images of sleek skyscrapers on the shores of Gaza and a master plan envisioning an airport and seaport. He said cities could be rebuilt in Gaza within a few years.
In the Middle East, they build cities like this in 2-3 million people. They build this in 3 years. And so stuff like this is very doable if we make it happen.
He said the U.S. would host a donors conference soon to raise money for rebuilding Gaza. But he said key to this is disarming Hamas. His plan is for Hamas's heavy weapons to be immediately decommissioned, and those who disarm would be rewarded with amnesty and reintegration or safe passage out of Gaza. Daniel Estrin, NPR News, Tel Aviv.
The El Paso, Texas medical examiner is ruling a Cuban man's death at an immigration detention camp a homicide. Immigration and Customs Enforcement says it's investigating. Angela Kucherga with member station KTEP has the latest.
The autopsy report says 55-year-old Geraldo Lunas Campos died of asphyxia due to neck and torso compression. The report also notes the detainee became, quote, unresponsive while being restrained, according to witnesses. When ICE reported the January 5th death, it said Lunas Campos was, quote, in medical distress. The Department of Homeland Security said the detainee tried to take his own life, and staff intervened. The medical examiner's report also notes Lunas Campos' medical history includes a bipolar disorder and anxiety. Lunas Campos is the third person to die in custody at the tent facility located at Fort Bliss and operated by a private contractor. For NPR News, I'm Angela Kucherga in El Paso.
Former special counsel Jack Smith is defending his investigations of President Trump as he fields pointed questions from congressional Republicans. NPR's Carrie Johnson reports Smith's public testimony today is his first since his investigations ended.
Jack Smith presided over 2 criminal indictments of Trump for attempting to overturn the 2020 election and for hiding secret documents at his Florida resort. Neither case got to a jury before Trump returned to the White House last year. Smith says he had proof beyond a reasonable doubt in both cases and that he was not motivated by politics. He says if he had any regrets, it was not expressing enough support for the prosecutors and FBI agents who worked on the cases. Many of those public servants have been fired by the Trump administration. Some have faced threats, he says, for doing their jobs. Carrie Johnson, NPR News, Washington.
You're listening to NPR News.
Live from News 88.7 in Houston, I'm Alexandra Hart. TxDOT says they have started pre-treating major roads across Houston, including I-10, I-45, and 610. That work will last until 4 o'clock this afternoon and will be completed on Friday. TxDOT also says they'll move into emergency operations beginning at noon on Saturday and will remain in effect throughout the entire event, scheduled to run through Monday. Meanwhile, Fort Bend County officials are warning residents to stay off the roads this weekend if at all possible as the winter weather approaches. News 88.7's Andrew Schneider has more details.
Fort Bend County is warning residents to prepare for a hard freeze that will make driving hazardous. Gregory Ronald Babst is Emergency Management Coordinator for the county.
If you don't have to be out and you don't have to be on the roads, please stay off the roads, especially Saturday night into Sunday and into Monday morning. Because there are going to be slick conditions on the roads.
Babst urges any residents with special needs to register with the State of Texas Emergency Assistance Registry and to make sure any electronic medical devices they depend on are fully charged. I'm Andrew Schneider, News 88.7.
The state's power grid operators say they're prepared for this weekend's freeze, but some energy experts say there's still more that Texas could do to make the state's grid more reliable. Ed Hers is an energy fellow at the University of Houston. He says power plant operators are incentivized to produce less energy in order to drive up prices and make more profit.
That's the game that ERCOT has. It rewards scarcity, and if a market rewards scarcity, one has a tendency to get more scarcity.
ERCOT says it believes there will be enough energy supply to meet demand this weekend. The grid's real-time conditions can be found on ERCOT.com. And another oversized truck slammed into the Houston Avenue Bridge last night. That caused major delays this morning on the Katy Freeway. It's the second time this year that a truck has hit that bridge. TxDOT says that bridge was struck over 70 times last year. I'm Alexandra Hart, News 88.7.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include the Walton Family Foundation, working to create access to opportunity for people and communities by tackling tough social and environmental problems. More information is at waltonfamilyfoundation.org.
From Houston Public Media and News 88.7, it's Hello Houston, an open forum on today's biggest stories affecting Houston and beyond. Call now, 713-440-8870, or let us know your thoughts on today's topics by emailing us at talk@hellohouston.org. And now, Hello Houston with Ernie Manouse, Celeste Díaz Schurman, and Frank Billingsley.
Welcome back. Another hour for you. Just when you thought it was over, we're back for more.
Hey.
Taking you through your lunchtime hour. And hello, Houston. Remember, you can always join the conversation by calling 713-440-8870 or emailing talk@hellohouston.org. Let's just get right into the headlines.
Yes, we continue to stay vigilant as we monitor the weather that is expected to be coming into the weekend. The Electric Reliability Council of Texas, or ERCOT, has issued an advisory for extreme cold weather ahead, as I was saying, of the expected winter storm in Texas this weekend. While ERCOT officials have said the state's power grid is ready to handle winter weather, the advisory warned about temperatures anticipated to remain below freezing and the possibility of frozen precipitation Saturday through noon Tuesday. The advisory did not include details on how or if the weather would strain the power grid, although officials have forecasted enough power generation to meet demand. And that's the key right there. The National Weather Service announced that a winter storm watch will be in effect for the Houston area from Saturday morning through Sunday afternoon. They're expecting heavy mixed precipitation and ice to accumulate on the roads. The conditions could cause power outages, downed trees, and dangerous travel conditions. And joining us now to give us his thoughts on the energy grid for this go-round of winter storms is U of H Energy Fellow and friend of Hello Houston, Ed Hurst. Ed, welcome back to Hello Houston.
Hi, Celeste.
Hi, and if you have a question for Ed, you can give us a call or send us a text, 713-440-8870.
So we're back to it. It didn't seem like we were going to have a winter, did it?
Well, that's one of the challenges. The polar vortex has become weakened by the warming. This is your business, Frank.
Right, that's exactly right. It is a product of global warming.
It can dip down here and at any time. Last winter, it was wreaking havoc across Europe. Looks like it's our time.
Yeah, especially with the difference from last year being a nice fluffy 4-inch snow versus what we could see as far as freezing rain and icing as we go. It looks like Sunday morning as far as the forecast. But let's talk about the whole state, because with the whole state in this, at least from I-10 north, it looks like we could really have a few problems with the grid.
And that's where we have a great concentration of power plants. In 2021, coal piles froze, natural gas supply lines froze. There's still allegations that natural gas was withheld. That's working its way through the civil courts. But yeah, we lost frequency in ERCOT. ERCOT began to shut down at 1:18 a.m. February 15th. And at the worst, we were 52 gigawatts short of being able to meet demand.
So when we were talking in our first hour, it was that a lot of changes, a lot has been learned from our past weather experiences, and that things have been done to make this more acceptable, more possible to get through. From your point of view, have the changes been made that need to be made? Will the same problems we've seen in the past repeat themselves? Where do we stand at this point?
Well, I think the fact that we're talking about it means there's tremendous uncertainty. And just judging from the governor's volume as he protests that the grid has never been stronger, it's an issue. The state turned down 2 offers to build 9 gigawatts, 10 gigawatts of power plants immediately following the freeze. The state has refused to change the ERCOT model, which rewards scarcity. The state has done its best to try to handicap wind and solar, which thankfully have built up to such a level that summertime issues don't seem to be a real problem at this point. But we still are facing the fact that the coal plants average more than 55 years in age. The natural gas plants average more than 30 years in age. And we don't have enough gas, nuclear, coal, and long-duration batteries to get us through a cold winter night if there's freezing precipitation that takes the wind turbines offline. We're just short.
I want to go back to something that you mentioned right now, Ed. What reasoning did the state give for turning down those facilities whenever they had that opportunity after the storms?
They said they didn't believe that it was appropriate to give somebody a guaranteed rate of return. So
whatever that means.
Warren Buffett's company, Berkshire Hathaway Energy, said, we'll build 10 gigawatts of power. It'll cost you $10 billion. That's what we'll charge you. And we want to make a 9% rate of return. Other utilities around the country, for example, Georgia Power, Alabama Power, those are utilities that make those sort of commercial transactions. And that's exactly what Berkshire Hathaway offered, a commercial transaction. The utilities, the generators in Texas operate as merchants, and so they're kind of fighting each other to bring their power in. It's an electricity-only market, and so only those power plants that are operating actually get paid in the wholesale market. This operates differently than you and me buying retail electricity. It's a financialization of the electricity market that came about because of Enron and how they lobbied Governor George W. Bush, that well-known C-minus econ student at Yale. and well, it's the facts.
So who benefits from essentially just having ERCOT as our main person who's in charge of the grid. And how do energy traders look? And what are energy traders expecting whenever we're expecting a winter storm?
They're licking their chops. This time 5 years ago, one of my students was walking by and saying, "Hey, one of the guys made $60 million at my trading desk today." That was the Friday before the freeze. I haven't seen him since. I haven't checked the prices in the ERCOT market for this weekend, but I'm sure they're up through the roof. Keep in mind the price here can go from 5 cents a kilowatt hour to what the new cap is, $5 a kilowatt hour.
Wow.
So if we have the Frank, Ernie, and Celeste power company, and you guys have got 20 power plants, and we're telling you we need them all here this weekend,
we're going to charge as much as we can.
If 5 of them go offline, that can push the price up to the $5 a kilowatt hour. It doesn't take many to do that.
Yeah.
And so your 25, along with everybody else on the grid, will make $5 a kilowatt hour. And you'll only, forego 5 plants. And if you'd had them on, maybe it would have made at most 5 cents a kilowatt hour. There's a game here where everybody remembers John Nash and A Beautiful Mind, and that's exactly what it is. How can I manipulate the market to my favor? And this has been a problem with the ERCOT market design from the very first day. You can go on the Public Utility Commission website and see where the complaints are about withholding electricity to drive the price up at various points when the market gets tight. It doesn't always have to be a peak winter day or a peak summer day.
So this weekend leading into next week, how does that materialize? And everything you've said to us, the consumer at home, what are you expecting we're going to see? Be it outages, be it higher prices, be it what do you predict?
It's uncertainty. I think we can expect the higher prices in the wholesale market. The retailers that we do business with, Reliant, for example, Champion Energy, Frontier, you name it, they should have bought enough electricity in advance, but we don't know that they have. And that was a problem back in 21. They were caught short. I mean, we all remember Gritty was sued by the state. Well, and Gritty was the only one who played heads up, told the consumers, we're just going to price you directly to the wholesale market. Those retailers who played with our money and did not lay off a hedge or buy ahead are the ones that we're still bailing out now, years later, $4 billion in overcharges that got passed through to us.
Remind people, because some people may not have been here in 2021, and I certainly didn't realize back then that Texas is its own electrical grid. There's the eastern United States, the western United States, and then Texas. How did that come about?
That's a legacy of the Federal Power Act, I think, 1938. And the Texas delegation was able to convince the rest of Congress that this wasn't necessary to have a full interconnection with Texas. Texas is a large geographic area. It costs a lot of money to run wires back and forth across Texas and to the other states and the consuming regions, the generation regions. We have a couple of few lines, DC power lines. We treat those like separate generators in effect. But keep in mind that in 2021, there wasn't enough power across the rest of the country to help us. There was 7 gigawatts of perhaps excess power in the Western Interconnect. El Paso Electric is part of that because it's outside of ERCOT. But El Paso Electric was fully weatherized. They had no issues during the freeze. To our east, the Mid-Continent Independent System Operator, which includes areas of the Woodlands, Kingwood, the old Gulf States utilities down to Beaumont, Lake Charles up to Manitoba, they ran short of electricity. The Southwest Power Pool ran short of electricity. They were able to draw on PJM, but what distinguishes MISO and SPP is that following the severe freeze in 2011 and grid failures in 2011 that caused fatalities in ERCOT, they actually followed the recommendations of the North American Electric Reliability Corporation and weatherized their grids. They treated a winter peak with at least as much urgency as a summer peak because in the wintertime people freeze, people die in their houses. We had a couple of dozen die in the CenterPoint area, the service area, because CenterPoint was unable to affect rolling blackouts like they were supposed to do. I mean, we all remember downtown Houston being lit up like Paris while the residential areas froze.
Yeah.
You know, it's interesting, Ed. We had Nathan Brownell with CenterPoint on earlier talking to us, and one of the questions I asked him was, what is the conversation that y'all are CenterPoint is having with ERCOT? What do you think is the conversation that they're having?
Well, if things go south badly with the weather, then ERCOT's going to be in a position of having to ration electricity, and CenterPoint may receive less than the demand in this area. If that happens, then CenterPoint needs to be able to rotate blackouts across the area. The euphemism, of course, is load shedding, but for you and me, if the lights go out, that's a blackout.
Yeah.
And so 45 minutes here, 45 minutes there, and rotating across the service area, as opposed to just leaving the lights on downtown.
Well, wish us all luck, right?
Exactly. Everybody needs 3 days of water. Mm-hmm. It's not if the power goes out at your home, but let's say the water plant goes out. If it goes out for 10 minutes, we're on a boil water notice here in Houston for the next 3 days. Make sure you don't have to go anywhere. If the traffic lights are out, that's an issue, regardless of whether or not the streets freeze.
Good point.
U of H Energy Fellow and friend of Hello Houston, Ed Hurst. Thank you for joining us today on Hello Houston.
Thank you.
Thank you. Frank, as we talk about all of this, we didn't get a chance at the top to hear the weather. Hearing all of that and understanding it, what are you seeing and looking at?
Well, I mean, if you believe the European model, a lot of the freezing rain and sleet and the wintry precipitation is going to stay to the north of Houston, and we're in for a cold rain. But it doesn't take much if you get the cold rain and then the temperatures fall below zero, you have icy bridges and overpasses. So it's just an evolving situation, and where the hits are, it's going to be like whack-a-mole. As far as it's bad here, it's not bad there, it's bad here, it's not bad there. But it's hard to say blanket like Dallas is going to see freezing rain and snow, period.
Right. Well, listening to Ed talk, and I hadn't thought about this, and that's probably my own short-sightedness, I'm thinking about us right here. When he starts talking about, well, these plants further out, if they go down, if they have problems, even if we don't get the freezing rain here, it could still be very serious.
And my point, Ed, is I don't think Texas has the opportunity to buy electricity from other states when we need it. We are all self-contained. So those plants have to work.
Right.
Now, hopefully, people learned a good lesson in 2021, and this is not a 2021. 2021, we had a week of temperatures below zero or below 32.
Right.
And then it was much more widespread across the state. As I said before, this low that's producing the precipitation is coming out of the Pacific, and it's coming from the southwest. That automatically is in our favor because a southwest wind brings in drier air from Mexico and warmer air from Mexico. So we tend to get these drier slots which don't have as much precipitation in them, as well as warmer slots. But we're kind of right on the edge right now. Yeah. So that's why I say if you believe the European model, we're pretty much going to weather this without any real problems. The American model likes to bring the freezing rain down into the Houston area.
So again, pretty okay today and tomorrow.
Today, tomorrow, Saturday. Saturday is just rainy and the cold air starts to creep in. It's like molasses. It just slowly comes in. But once it's here, because it is going to be a very cold air mass, it's going to hang out until Monday.
And we will continue to monitor the weather as we look towards the weekend. And now is the time to stay prepared. Be prepared. Don't panic. But coming up on Hello Houston, we're going to talk with the ReelAbilities Houston Film and Arts Festival about the work that they are doing to make the arts more inclusive. This is News 88.7. Stay with us.
It's not just your car. It's the one that brought your kids home from school, took you cross-country, held memories, laughter, even a few breakdowns. When it's time to let go, give your car a new purpose. Donate it and turn memories into meaningful support for this station. Plus, you'll enjoy free and easy pickup, potential tax benefits, and a simple donation process. Your gift supports the programs you and your family love. Donate today and help keep public media strong. Call or donate online.
9 p.m.
On the next Science Friday, X's AI chatbot Grok is undressing users, but it's just the tip of the iceberg of fake online imagery.
Every single piece of content that we see online, purely visually, is becoming indistinguishable from reality.
Deepfakes. How do they work and what comes next? That's on Science Friday from WNYC Studios.
Listen tomorrow at 1 p.m.
Next time on the New Yorker Radio Hour, how Tucker Carlson, an Inside the Beltway magazine writer, became a prophet of MAGA.
Tucker's always been very good about seeing where things are going. He recognized that, if he wanted to attain the fame and fortune and power that he clearly did, he was not going to be able to do that in print.
Jason Zengerle on the rise of Tucker Carlson, next time on the New Yorker Radio Hour.
Listen Sunday at 9 a.m.
Support comes from Asia Society Texas, presents The Big Swim, a musical retelling of the Lunar New Year fable setting the order of the 12 zodiac animals, February 20th through 22nd. More at asiasociety.org/Texas.
Support comes from Belmont Village Senior Living, committed to enriching the lives of seniors through daily programs, custom care, and hospitality in assisted living and memory care. 2 Houston area locations. More at belmontvillage.com/Houston.
And now back to Hello Houston. To comment on any of today's topics, call 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. Now back to Ernie Manouse, Celeste Díaz Schurman, and Frank Billingsley.
Well, a Houston festival focused on inclusion and accessibility is marking a major milestone. ReelAbilities, Houston Film and Arts Festival, is celebrating its 14th year, highlighting films, music, art, conversations that honor the lives and talents of people with disabilities. Joining us to talk about the festival and its impact are Paige Shoemake, Director of Rehabilitation at Tier Memorial Hermann, and Jeff Feinstein, the founder of Walk and Roll for SCI and a leader behind the festival's Real Community events. Paige, Jeff, welcome.
Hey, good morning.
Yeah, we're glad to have you here. Well, I had not heard much about this festival. So, first of all, exactly when is it and where is it?
Well, actually, the festival spans over most of this month throughout the weekends. There's lots
like the
of
Renaissance
different...
Festival.
It is.
It goes on and on.
Yeah, there's lots of different great events. One of them being this weekend. Obviously, we just talked about the weather right before that. So we have some pending questions and some updates coming. But so this particular weekend is Real Community. And so this weekend actually brings together over 30 exhibitors who are... just really focused on the various ability community in Houston, the disability community in Houston, and what can we do in the city and how can we bring everyone together? So it's focusing on arts and recreation, and we have assisted lacrosse, assisted basketball. Our arts and entertainment venues are coming down, sports venues, and so just showing us what we can do in the city of Houston is amazing. There's a lot out there that people may not know about.
And leading it, or helping lead it, is what am I trying
Jeff.
to say? I saw Jeff. I was looking for your last name. Feinstein. So Jeff Feinstein. So you're leading this. What is your role exactly?
So this really is a collaborative effort with myself as a founder of an organization called Walk and Roll for SEI, along with Tier Memorial Hermann. I've had 2 lengthy stays at Tier, of which I became pretty close with various members on staff there, and the JFS Alexander Institute. We've come together and collaborated to create this event. It's a tangent to the festival in that the overarching idea is to provide areas of inclusion and to promote that through really just fun, interactive means. Last year we kicked it off as a pilot program, and it was really well received. So we are very, very excited to host it this Sunday. If the weather decides to change those plans, then we'll have it hopefully reorganized for a later weekend this spring. But yeah, so it's in all, it's a collaborative effort here with myself and Tier and JFS.
And you know, what I love about this is that oftentimes when we think about inclusion, we think of the person that has the disability. But reality is that there are siblings, there are parents, there are children. And so to be able to have something that everybody gets to go to and enjoy something together is so important. Talk about that aspect. When we talk about inclusion, it's not just the person with a disability, but it's their entire family.
Yeah. I think Jeff and I both have very personal stories, and we can each let you we'll give an aspect of that. Personally, for myself, I am a full-time caretaker. I also do work at Tier Memorial Hermann. My husband had a serious traumatic brain injury 19 years ago now. Wow. So just a year after we were married. And we do have a 6-year-old daughter. This was an event that allowed us to come together, to be together as a family, and really learn about, events that I didn't even know that we could do. I'm so enmeshed in the day-to-day, and even I am like, God, I know everything, right? Like, I know all of the different activities that the city of Houston has, but there was lots of information that was even very helpful for me as a personal, walk through it too. And so Jeff may speak a little bit more to his family's experience as well.
Absolutely. And that's, when we chose the name Real Community, that's really the aspect that we wanted to draw on. So it's an excellent point, because all the events and activities, they're purposely for able and non-abled bodies. I was injured just about 8 years ago, age 32. It's kind of an awkward age for an injury. A lot of the individuals at Tier either, younger, like 18, 19, or older. I kind of ran smack in the middle. So at the time, extremely chaotic mentally and physically. We had twin boys, or we have twin boys. At the time, they were 5 years old.
Wow.
And we had a daughter who was 1. So as much as I'm going through my recovery and adaptation, my wife and all of family is doing the same. Everybody's really rushing in for support. Yeah. And one thing that really kind of stood out for me personally while I was at Tier is my community rallied around me through GoFundMe and ensuring that we had the appropriate modifications ready at home. And if we didn't, then what would we need? Do we need to interview caregivers? And how are we going to navigate the insurance system? What does our job situation look like? So when my deck starts getting shuffled through my initial stay at Tier, I really started to identify that my situation was a lot different than a lot of others. I had an incredibly supportive job that was ready to step in and said, Jeffrey, don't worry. You come when you come. We need you in whatever capacity you can provide to us. If you come, we're going to push you to do more. If you say stop, we're going to tell you to stop. Similarly, as I indicated, the community showed up with money to help kick us off. And I noticed that there was definitely a gap between what I had and what others didn't.
Right.
And it can be as simple as covering your medical deductibles and needing a certain adaptive tool that online may cost $300 or $400.
Right.
Spinal cord injuries and many injuries and illnesses are very, very expensive.
Right.
And ours doesn't come with a full recovery to what you were before, so adaptation is expensive too. Right. So that was kind of the idea behind the walk and roll, was to say to our community that supported me, hey, what would you think about supporting my entire physical ailment?
Yeah, and it's interesting, right? Because you guys talk about, your husband having that traumatic injury, you experiencing something at 32. In the midst of your 30s, I'm in that age gap where we have young kids and you're married and you're kind of doing life. Your life gets switched over, and all of a sudden it consists of therapies, doctor's appointment, insurance calls. And so to be able to provide a time where you guys get to, and as a family, get to break away from that for a second and feel like yourselves and enjoy it must be make a real impact on the community.
I think absolutely, yes, to answer your question. I think the heart of these various organizations that are putting it on, our goal is really just to love people and love people well, and continue to display hope in the city of Houston, and offer and continue to open the eyes for those that may need services, right? And in doing so, celebrating arts and community and so many passionate people that not only have gotten back to what they love, or they've gotten back to something that they didn't know they loved before, and it's a new love. And so it really is to celebrate this and to just highlight Houston, and that we rally together, and we're here to rally together, and that's what we do.
Something that I love so much about, and I'm intimately involved in the organization.
Yes.
I have been fortunate enough to MC the Real Music event every year. And what is so beautiful about it is we talk about these injuries, we talk about these changes that happen. At these events, we're celebrating what we have and seeing all ages get up and perform musically. And I've often said this even from the stage, being in that room that night is one of the most powerful nights of the year every year in Houston, is seeing these folks who are no longer looked at as their other ability-wise or their disability, but being looked at as, she's a singer, he's a drummer, he's a guitarist, and they get to be celebrated in that aspect. And that's so important, I think, not just to, I don't want to say recovery, but survival within this world, is to realize your world is not just about that part of you, that you're still a complete person. And you folks do a lot of programming to not just do that in the moment, but to let that spread throughout the year.
Right, absolutely. I mean, I think each person, no matter whatever you're walking through in life, wants to be celebrated for yourself and for what gifts you bring to the table. Nobody wants to be seen as X, Y, and Z. And I think at times that's what the community sees us as. And so the goal is to celebrate everybody's arts and talents and who they are as a person, right? Because that's exactly who we are. It's who our heart is. It's not whatever we present on the outside. And so speaking for my husband, I know that that's how he would want to be viewed day to day. Not only do we try to do this during the month of February, but there are lots of community events that happen. And so that's why this Real community is so important, is that it brings together these exhibitors that are doing events throughout the entire year. And so you get to learn about what this is and sports events. And so you can come and join and see, what you may want to be a part of.
We are speaking about the ReelAbilities Houston Film and Arts Festival. If you would like to join the conversation, you can call or text 713-440-8870. You're listening to Hello Houston.
So how does one become involved? If someone hearing us out there didn't know about your programs, how can they become more familiar? Is it a brick and mortar place they go, or is it online? How does it work?
So, if you're an exhibitor and you have the desire, the ability to offer whatever you're doing in your workplace or in your organization, you have the desire to say, hey, you know what? Maybe we don't see a lot of wheelchairs in here. Maybe we don't see, individuals with cerebral palsy or access the neurodiversity kind of realm of our surrounding area. Please reach out and say, well, what can we do? How can we be involved? Because we have some exhibitors been like jujitsu. There's a service, I forget the name of it, that takes individuals out on Galveston Bay.
Nice.
Fred Astaire dancing. If you think of it, in places like Belong Kitchen, if you think of it, a lot of the things that we do are open to everybody. Sure. It's just tapping in and accessing that person, the talent, the ideas of maybe, I don't want to use the word neglected, but a group of people that aren't consistently advertised to, let's say.
Yeah.
So there is an online website for ReelAbilities Festival. If you go click on it, you can see all of the different calendar events through the month of February. And if you've registered for Real Community, obviously there are updates coming up about weather, but there's also updates about vendors that are going to be there. And you can click on Real Art, Real Music, as you mentioned, and go ahead and register and be present for those events.
What's the web address?
It's www.ReelAbilitiesHouston.org, and that reel is spelled REEL.
Like a movie reel.
Like the movie reel.
Yeah. I guess, and this is probably going to sound like an insensitive question, but I hope that our audience hears it and can understand how quickly, and in your case, Jeffrey, once the accident happens, how quickly the world views you differently. And if you feel that and how you process that in the moment, and how important things like this are to help remind people, even the individuals themselves, they are more than just this.
That's a great question. With an accident like mine, I was in trauma for surgery at Memorial Hermann proper, and then immediately moved over to TIER, to where I had a stay of almost 40 days.
Oh, wow.
So within that bubble, that's kind of what you are. You're in a bubble. You're not necessarily viewed by anyone on the outside, and everybody on the inside is just trying to help you achieve any of the physical rehabilitation you can achieve prior to sending you home. So I can vividly remember the first time that I did have that kind of dichotomous feeling of, what are they thinking about me? What am I thinking about myself? This is really weird. And I grew up in Houston, so I remember the first time that we went out as a group at TIER. We went to Velvet Taco, or one of the taco places on Westheimer, and we're leaving the medical center and we're driving to Montrose, and everything is recognizable, but it's been 40 days. I was injured in October, now it's December. And it was kind of an eerie feeling, kind of crossing that bridge over 59, being like, this is different. This feels different. And then as you kind of go through the restaurant, they do that to kind of reintegrate you into social outings and whatnot. You go into the restaurant and you're like, oh, wow, like I'm about to order food, but I don't know how I'm going to eat it. At the time, my right arm was maybe 50% of the strength it is now. My left was 0. It just kind of dangled. And if I wanted to bring it up on my wrist, I had to kind of swing it. So eating was assisted at that time. So there's a lot going through your mind. It's like I'm in a public space, yet I'm being, taken care of by, able-bodied. So I do remember very vividly the feeling of, okay, this is going to be a little bit different. And that was maybe one of the last few days I was going to be at TIER prior to me being discharged. So it all kind of came in like that. But like you said, these moments where we all kind of get together, or we're sitting in the boardroom at JFS that's totally dedicated to inclusion, or we're talking to the therapist at TIER or the recreational therapist at TIER whose job it is to promote inclusivity, you do kind of, you feel homey, you feel like you're just you, which is a fantastic feeling. And it's what feeling I get with so many events at the festival. And it's why I try to stay involved as much as I can, so much like where they can't kick me out because I'm introducing new events with them. So I don't know. However I can cement myself and stay involved for the long haul, I'll do.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. So keep calling me. I love doing it. But I think it's also cool, and I don't want to give the idea to folks that it's for the folks that are experiencing these different abilities. It is for the community to come out and see and also celebrate these talents that we see across the board. And you have a film festival and the music events, and then, of course, this event coming up. There's a lot of places for everyone to get involved and to celebrate all the work you folks are doing.
Exactly. And I think Jeffrey mentioned it before. Each activity that's planned throughout the month is really focused on all abilities. There's activities for children. There's guitarists playing. There's sing-alongs at the art festival. It's just a time to celebrate being a person, honestly, because in the end, that's who we are. Jeffrey mentioned through his last days of tier and trying to go to Velvet Taco on their outing, as a family member, on the flip side, you instantly start thinking about, like, where are the curb cuts? How do I get the wheelchair up on the sidewalk? Different things that you hadn't thought about before. And so this is just a time where it's in a place that's accessible. The buildings are accessible. These things have been pre-thought out. We're very blessed in the city of Houston to have active members in the community who are pushing this forward. But imagine where we could be 10 years from now, too.
Yeah.
Right? It's just exciting.
And you'll get there because of the work of this organization and other things like it that are shedding a light on what we need. We're in such a world where DEI seems like such a foul word and everyone's trying. And we don't really think about the full scope of what we're talking about when we do.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's all becoming intertwined, too. We have individuals at TIER who are on the commission for disabilities in the city of Houston. The director for the mayor's office for people with disabilities is co-chairing the event this year, Angel Ponce. He'll be chairing the event next year. Myself, I like to, dabble with TIER and JFS. I'm a proud JFS board member as of this year. So like you said, with the powers combined, the goal is for every year for us to see like kind of visible progress. And then similarly, if you're interested and you come to a movie or you come to our speaker series, tell somebody else, or you register somebody else for them and say, hey, let's go listen to Jim Abbott and Ali Stroker this year, who are the highlighted guest speakers at the speaking panel event. And as much as we can continue to widen the net, only good things can come for the city of Houston and beyond.
And if you want to go to Real Music, I would say get your tickets early because we've been selling out year after year. I'm just saying.
Always you are absolutely right.
Jeff Feinstein is the founder of Walk and Roll for CSI and a leader behind the Real Community events. And Paige Shoemake is the director of rehabilitation at TIER Memorial Hermann. Thank you both for joining us today on Hello Houston.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, have a great event. Don't worry about the weather.
It's going to be fine.
It's fine.
Just weather.
Coming up, we're going to discuss our current obsessions. Stay with us as Hello Houston continues.
Want to binge All Creatures Great and Small, catch up on Nova, or revisit Ken Burns' documentaries? You can with PBS Passport. With a gift of $5 or more per month to Houston Public Media, you'll get access to PBS Passport that lets you watch your favorite programs anytime you want. Support the programs you love and enjoy them on your own schedule with PBS Passport. Make your gift now at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate.
As residents plan a major strike. On the next Friday News Roundup, the latest on U.S. immigration as ICE descends next on Maine. Plus, the House votes to hold the Clintons in contempt in the Jeffrey Epstein probe as millions of pages of files remain under wraps. We round up the news next time on 1A.
1A is coming up today at 2 o'clock.
When he walked in the room, I knew immediately who he was. It just clicked. I looked at him and was like, oh, that's what I look like when I'm 70. Okay, got it. Cool.
Join us for more true stories told live. Next time, The Search for Truth. Like meeting your biological father for the first time. That's on the Moth Radio Hour from PRX.
You can hear it Saturday at noon.
A transgender athlete swims for the women's team at a college championship.
I loved that moment of me not being afraid and not even thinking about being trans. I only felt affirmed in being a woman.
But the moment doesn't last.
It's hard when my country and my government is trying to turn the world and people against me.
Swimming while trans in college sports on the next Reveal.
Saturday at 2 p.m.
And now back to Hello Houston. To share your thoughts on any of today's topics, call 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. Now here's Ernie Manouse, Celeste Díaz Schurman, and Frank Billingsley.
Thanks for joining us. Usually this is our time for our current obsessions, and we are going to get there, but first we're going to do a quick weather update.
Is there
with
something in the
Frank.
weather?
Did you see the fog this morning?
We were under a dense fog advisory.
Yeah, we may see that again tomorrow. In fact, there's a look outside.
Yeah.
Looks like they've stolen the tops of the buildings from us. So the fog is going to be there. We're going to see that again tomorrow. This is ahead of that front that's going to come through Friday night into Saturday morning. So temperatures are going to get chilly around here, like 40s on Saturday. And then we're heading down below freezing for Sunday morning, Monday morning, even Tuesday morning. And you throw in some precipitation on top of that, that could lead to freezing rain. Maybe some sleet. Snow is not in our forecast, so don't get excited about that.
So, Frank, are we looking at tomorrow? Will it be?
It'll be like today.
Okay, so it'll be like today.
Yeah.
Saturday, we're expected to see the cold.
Correct.
And then by Sunday, it'll be really cold.
Yeah, that's when it'll get really cold.
Okay.
We mentioned earlier, prepare your pipes.
Yes.
A good package of Pampers. You can use that to cover your pipes or your spigots to keep those warm. Don't forget to unload your sprinkler systems.
What about dripping faucets?
Well, fire department doesn't like you to do that because if everybody does that and then there's a fire and they go to the fire hydrant and can't get a pressure out of it because we're all dripping our faucets. So that's not a great idea. It's better just to turn off the water where it comes in, and then you won't have a problem with pipes busting. Okay. So that'd be my official advice. Okay. If you do drip a pipe, make sure it's the farthest away from where the water comes in. Oh. So if the water comes into the front of your house, go all the way to the back farthest sink because you want to pull it all the way through the house for the drip. Okay. And then be polite about it and don't run the water. Just
your life is different now. Like a lot of folks, you no longer live in a house; you live in a high rise.
Yes.
Certain differences you have to pay attention to in a high rise, or is because you're in there, everything's okay?
Well, a high rise can lose electricity, and then you don't have elevators, and you don't have a lot of your lights and your internet, just like everybody else. So that's certainly one concern for any high rise. As far as trying to get in and out, it's just like any other road in front of our,
But pipes and all that.
Well, pipes as far as freezing, no, that's not an issue.
Okay. Right. One less thing you have to worry about.
And plants.
I
can't tell you how many plants. It didn't freeze from 1997 to 2007. Didn't ever have a freeze. So we planted tropicals. And then we've been replacing plants the last 5 years. It's like crazy.
And now they replaced you and you're in the high rise. So you don't have to worry about it.
We know that right now, currently, we're all a little obsessed with weather, but we also know that there are other things that are occupying our minds. And we know, I think a lot of people are going to be hunkering down, and we're going to be watching a lot of Netflix and TV.
Heated rivalry.
Yeah, to keep warm. Heated. It works.
Rivalry, I get it.
This morning the Oscar nods came out, so you'll be able to catch up on those if you're at home and the power's still on. You can look for a lot. So much stuff streams so quickly these days. It's in the theaters, and you think you don't have a chance to see it. So much of it you can find now online, streaming in different services.
Some stuff goes straight to streaming.
Yeah, Frankenstein. Right
pretty much, yeah. And that's about the only one I've seen of all the Best Picture nominees.
And I'm not going to read through the whole list. We're going to talk more about this on tomorrow's show, too. Suffice to say, it was kind of like some were expected, and those that weren't expected were like, oh. I didn't get excited about the noms.
How many of the 10 nominations have you seen?
One. I'll do them real quick. 2, 3, 4, 5. Only 5. Half of them, because there's 10.
I've only seen one, Frankenstein.
Celeste, what have you seen of the list?
I want to see Hamnet. Hamnet seems really good.
Hamnet's next on my schedule.
Yeah, and it's a Steven Spielberg, so it's excellent. And Marty Supreme. Everybody,
I saw that.
Everybody loves Timothy Chalamet.
I haven't seen it. Haven't seen it.
I saw it.
Well, while you're looking, we have a call. Shelley is on the line from the 6th Ward. Hi, Shelley. Welcome to Hello Houston. What's on your mind?
Thanks for having me. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. What's up?
I wanted to congratulate you on a truly great show today. I've been listening for quite a while. I know sometimes the topics are all over the place, but today, so incredibly informative. All of the stuff about AI and data centers, kind of from two different audiences, or two different speakers, I should say. Just really hit the nail. And then the ReelAbilities, I was so inspired by that session and just wanted to encourage all to have more of that and maybe even talk about more opportunities for volunteering, especially for high school kids. I know I have a high school son who just told me yesterday he went to volunteer at the food bank on Monday and was like, Mom, I really want to volunteer more.
Oh, that's
I'd
great.
love to
And
hear
so-
more about opportunities.
Sweet. So, Shelley, I would assume today your obsession is our show.
Hello, Houston.
Well,
Which one of us are you related to, Shelley?
actually, I promised him I would offer an obsession since we're on that topic. And honestly, mine right now is the Houston Texans because I know they lost, y'all, but I am so fired up about the heart this team is showing. And I know people are talking about changes, and I don't want to see any changes. I want to see the coach stay. I want to see the quarterback stay. I want them to battle through and have more success next year.
I agree.
Really see what they accomplish.
I'm with you.
Amen, Shelley. Amen. Thank you
Shelley,
for calling.
Yeah, if anybody else wants to share their obsessions with us, give us a call right now, 713-440-8870. Or, as Shelley has shown, it doesn't have to be an obsession. It can just be a compliment.
Hey, we had a text saying, here's a pipe hack. Lean a bag of mulch against the pipes. That'll do it.
Oh.
Yeah. Alex Garza says her current obsession is this week's been mostly weather related and also finding fun slow cooker recipes.
Oh, my, Alex, I need to talk to you. I wanted to write a book years ago. Kathryn Guerra was on the show, and we used to joke about writing a book together called What a Crock. And it was all things you could cook in your crock pot because crock pot cooking can be so healthy. The food cooks in its own juices most of the time. Vegetables keep their nutrients. What a Crock will be my book one day. But if you've got a great slow cooker recipe, Alex or anyone, share it with us in the chat over on YouTube.
Well, Earl Grey on YouTube says, I'm obsessed with soup. I'm going to make some menudo this weekend.
Yes.
Make
and
that in
then
your crock
Sean Radigan says, current obsession, 90s TV landmark from Japan, Iron Chef. It's a masterpiece. I went through a whole obsession
Iron
with
Chef.
Iron
I forgot
Chef.
about
My
that.
sister and
Hey,
I
The Pit is in its
watched
second
it
season.
all the time.
The Pit with Noah Wiley. I love it. Tonight, it drops on Thursday. So tonight will be episode 3.
So I'm looking at this list of the Academy Awards, and I've only seen 2 films. I've seen One Battle After the Other, After Another, and Train Dreams. That's it.
That's it.
Yeah.
Hey, James is on the line from Conroe. James, have you seen any movies lately?
Yes, I have seen movies. I went to go see Marty Smart. It was a pretty good movie. I like table tennis. Little long, but
Yeah, Marty Supreme, just for
decent.
those keeping score at home.
Yeah, but you mentioned Frankenstein, and I thought the movie was awful. It was not that low budget means it's a bad movie, but there's only maybe 5 scenes in the whole movie. It's really not entertaining. And there's never been, to my knowledge, a Frankenstein movie that remotely follows the actual novel.
James, maybe you can help me on this. Somewhere in the back of my head kicks around maybe late 70s, there was a television movie of Frankenstein. Maybe it was a 2-parter that was supposed to be very faithful to the book. I have not been able to find it, but I know it's out there somewhere. Did you ever hear of that?
No, I sure didn't, but I would like to see it because as it normally is, the book is much better than the movie.
Yeah.
I'm with you. James, I didn't like Frankenstein. Frankenstein's the only one I've seen, and I didn't like it.
Didn't like it.
Yeah.
Well, Jacob Elordi, he's nominated for Best Supporting Actor.
That's the reason I
playing the
saw
creature.
it. That's the reason I saw it, because
Yeah.
I like his work. And I thought maybe this will be something really worth seeing. But at the end of the day, I saw it on an airplane.
Yeah.
So it passed
been that.
time. But other than passing the time,
James, thank you for calling and sharing with us.
And we did get another text from Sally who says Hamnet is worth seeing on a large screen because you feel like you are in the Globe Theater and up close to the characters.
Oh.
Hamnet is on my must-watch.
But you don't want smell-o-vision. Can you imagine being in the Globe Theater next to everybody?
I got a pair of those like glasses you wear that show the movie screen in your glasses. Not the big RV glasses, but just like they look like regular sunglasses. And I have yet to hook it up, but maybe I should hook it up to watch that movie so I can see it like it's big.
And we also have another YouTube comment from My British Computer Guy says Frankenstein, in my opinion, was actually very good.
There you go.
There you go.
Speaking quickly of obsessions, a lot of people talking about Star Search over on Netflix that you can vote live
What
online.
did you think? Did you see it?
Yeah, I watched it last night and I voted last night just to do it. It's very easy to vote. But what I wanted to say is tomorrow night, my obsession is Skyscraper Live. I'm horrified this is happening. A man is going to climb the outside of a 101-foot skyscraper in Taiwan without any safety harnesses or nets or anything, and they're going to air it live on Netflix. I think it's exploitive, and I'm horrified by it, and I'm going to watch.
Ditto, and I'm not going to watch.
And we're not going to have time for it, but one of my obsessions also, I know my sports fans out there might be watching the David and Victoria Beckham feud with their son and his wife, Brooklyn Beckham.
I hate rich white people problems.
And it is so interesting. The tea is hot. Our resident expert on that, Macy Kelly, gave me a great rundown. But you know
Tomorrow,
what, guys?
can you tell us more?
Maybe.
Maybe.
But you know what? We've run out of time. And that brings us to the end of our show. We want to thank you for watching and listening and joining us today on Hello Houston. We will be back tomorrow with more conversations. We're going to continue to monitor the weather. And we're also going to be talking with Sean Tajapour of Nerdtropolis, who will break down all the big movie releases in 2026. This is News 88.7. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for listening to Hello Houston. Join us every Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. to talk all things Houston. The Hello Houston production team includes Garrett Bowman, William Menjivar, Jen Altide, Todd Holslander, and Jim Kovacic. For the latest in local news, subscribe to the Hello Houston daily newsletter at HoustonPublicMedia.org. Hello Houston is a production of Houston Public Media. The opinions expressed by the guests of this program are solely their own and do not represent the views of management, staff, or underwriters of Houston Public Media. This is News 88.7.
Houston Public Media is licensed to the